Hi, my name is Bob Iacchino. This is the Tradier Rundown. I'm here with Jim Iorio. We are the hosts of the Trader's Edge, which airs on Wednesday. Do I want to say Chicago time, Jim?
Yes, you want to say Chicago time.
All right, 3 o'clock Central time, which is Chicago time. I'm also going to throw in 4 o'clock Eastern time. It is a live show, so we want you guys to check it out. But right now we're talking in the rundown about copper. And today I'm talking to you, Jimmy, on Wednesday the 3rd. Copper hit a 13-month high. Now, you've been calling for this for quite a while. Yeah. I'd say outside of a year at least. So what are your thoughts so far on what's been going on?
Well, and we'll say too, when I started talking about this was approximately a year and a half ago, that just everything kind of lined up for copper. And it was a long-term play. It wasn't a day trade or a swing trade. Right. It was and I piled into it as a long-term investment. The story of it was quite simple at the time. It was about the electrification of the grid. It was about EV vehicles, whether or not, and again, we can argue about if they're environmentally friendly, if they're not environmentally friendly. I don't care. Well, I do care, but my trader hat doesn't care. The trader hat says if they're going to push these things, they're going to need a crap ton of copper to do it. Now, what I've really liked over the last, call it 8 months, and then this breakout, was that copper was trading kind of in a sideways pattern, despite the fact that China seemed like it was on the edge. Despite the fact that we went through the winter of discontent for EVs here, where all of a sudden people were realizing that in the dead of winter in cold climates, maybe they're not the best things to have. So they kind of lost their glow a little bit. And then all of a sudden, copper breaks out. When it goes above 404, I'm talking about the CME contract, and all of a sudden there, it looks beautiful. It goes higher. It comes back down, tests it again with no conviction, and boom, now it's off to the races again. Again, Copper's my pick to click and has been for quite a while. I plan on being long in for the next 5-6 years.
So we are starting to finally see some, let's use a cliche and call them green shoots out of China. But I would argue that this particular breakout is not because of China yet. It is not because of EVs, which would lend to your longer term thesis, right? I think it's because the Fed is still going to cut rates while data continues to get stronger. Am I nuts?
No, you're not nuts. He came out and said it. On March 20th, Jay Powell came out and said he expects GDP to rise from here. He expects PC inflation to rise a little bit from here. And oh yeah, he's going to cut 3 times before the end of 2024. To me, that means, and I believe everyone else thinks so too, is that their notion of 2% inflation target, and I think you agree with me on this too, is now something substantially higher. I thumbnailed it now that they'd be happy with 2.7. Is that, you think that's right?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, today, again, we're talking on the 3rd, April 3rd, he spoke at Stanford and he was specifically asked a question about the 2% target. And he goes, well, we think we can get there over the long term. He's already kind of couching the time frame of when they can get there. And he still said that rates were restrictive. So Jimmy and I tend to do this in the futures market, but there are a couple of ETFs you can look at. CPER is the U.S. copper ETF product. That's one you can look at. You can also look at Invesco's DB-based metals fund, which is DBB. And then Southern Copper and Freeport-McMoRan are a couple stocks you can look at.
Okay.
So if you were doing this outside of the future, it looks to me like the miners are where you would go.
So I don't talk about individual names, but I do like one of those names that you mentioned. I consider it a synthetic long in copper, and I may or may not have an uncomfortably long position in that and have added to it recently. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm going to say I agree with that, and that I might also get long Freeport-McMoRan. Anyway, we are the hosts of the Trader's Edge, Trader's Edge, Wednesday. I'm going to lead with Eastern time this time, 4 p.m. Eastern time. 3 o'clock Chicago time, which Jimmy still thinks is the center of the universe, even though I don't live there anymore. Join us live, watch the recordings. We really appreciate you guys, and we will see you there.
All opinions expressed by Tradier Hub contributors are solely the contributors' opinions and do not reflect the opinions of Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries. You should not treat any opinion expressed by Hub contributors as a specific inducement to make a particular investment or to follow a particular strategy, but only as an expression of their opinion. The contributors' opinions are based on their own personal research, but neither Tradier nor its affiliates and/or subsidiaries warrants its completeness or accuracy, and it should not be relied upon as such. Any trades or positions discussed or referred to by contributors may or may not be accurate actual live trades or positions. Such information is not intended to be financial or investment advice. Tradier Inc. is the parent company of Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. and Tradier Inc. are separate entities with their own products and services. Securities products and services are offered through Tradier Brokerage Inc. Tradier Brokerage Inc. is an independent subsidiary of Tradier Inc., all rights reserved, member FINRA SIPC.